The Baltimore Ravens have a massive game tomorrow against the Cleveland Browns. And speaking of them, they gave Baltimore a gift. I'll tell you what that is in just a couple of seconds, but I thought it'd be fun to race the Browns report to 50 subscribers. Who can get there first? I need you guys to help me and hit that sub button. Coming up on today's show, the Browns gave a gift to the Baltimore Ravens, okay? And it has to do with their quarterback, a little bit of a tease. And then on the back half, we're going to get into our Ravens Rundown live mailbag. We got questions coming from the best fans in the entire National Football League. But let's go ahead and start with this gift. Look, I'm really, really excited for this game. I've just been really excited to watch the Baltimore Ravens play football as they've started to stack these wins. And a big reason for them being able to stack those wins, of course, is because of the play of their defense. Now, they're going to face a team in the Cleveland Browns who just took maybe the worst loss in the National Football League so far this season, losing to the Jets, who at that point were just a one-win team. But if you look a little bit deeper into those stats, you see Dillon Gabriel, 17 for 32, 167 yards, right? And in his last two starts, 56.6% completion percentage, 161.5 yards a game, 4.9 yards per attempt, a quarterback rating average of 33.6. And mind you, against New York, they didn't have Sauce Gardner or Quinnen Williams. So what's this gift, Joey? Well, it seems his head coach wants to keep running it back with him. Kevin Stefanski spoke to the media this week and said, we're going to stick with Dillon. Obviously, this is a young player that you're trying to get one game better. We have to coach better. And guys, this is a gift from Baltimore. From Cleveland, excuse me. Them trotting out Dillon Gabriel after he's put up back-to-back horrible games, after, frankly, he hasn't even put a good game forward for the entirety of this season. Kevin Stefanski still rolling with the rookies is like wrapping something nice and tight and putting it on the Baltimore Ravens front door. Like Kevin Stefanski's going down the chimney with a big bag on his shoulder and saying, here you go, Ravens defense. You've had a hell of a last couple of games. You want to continue that streak? Now they're the ones that are going to have to go and do it. But they're going to be facing a quarterback that pretty much everybody's been able to defend so far this season. Don't believe me? Hear from someone who covers this team on a daily basis. This is from Craig Corton. I'm sorry, Dillon, you cannot play NFL football. In my lifetime, I don't think there's another example of this that's ever happened. We've never seen it before. I've never seen a quarterback as bad as Dillon Gabriel in conjunction with a franchise that is still going to make him their starter. I've never seen these two things. I have never seen an incompetent coach and an incompetent quarterback united at the hip with no end in sight. Now, we already showed you his statistics, and we've talked about his statistics. 2 interceptions on the season. That's not terribly bad. But the turnover-worthy play percentage is at 4.6. That's the third highest in the National Football League. That's a PFF metric of how often do you put the ball in harm's way? Well, he does it 4.6% of throws. Again, bottom 3 or top 3, depending on which way you look at it, in the National Football League. And since the bye week, man, this Ravens team has been key in turning the ball over. 10 total. 3 interceptions alone in the past 2 games. 2 for Malachi Starks, 1 for Marlon Humphrey. This team's starting to play really, really good football. And they're getting to go against a quarterback who's going to be easily the worst that they faced up until this point. I need at least a 3 turnover game from this defense. I get it. They're rounding into form. But, man, you could take advantage of this. And think about last year when you played the Cleveland Browns against Jameis Winston, when he put up 330 yards and 3 touchdowns on you. You know how many times you picked him off? 0. 0. You know how many picks you dropped? Like 4. Most notably, Kyle Hamilton, which was right in the breadbasket. Now, I'll never utter a bad word about Kyle Hamilton in my life, but that was not his best moment. I'm going to set the line at 1.5 interceptions against Cleveland on Sunday. Are you taking the over or are you taking the under? You let me know in that comment section down below. Let's play a little Vegas and give me the over or the under. With PrizePicks, it is more or less. And if you want more fun on Sundays, well, you got to download the PrizePicks app. The hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Derrick Henry's rush yards, carries, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. On PrizePicks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose FlexPlay, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the power play. No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that FlexPlay because it's one of my favorite things about PrizePicks. Just gives you a little bit more of a safety blanket. Here's my PrizePicks lineup for Sunday's game. I got the more on Derrick Henry, 3.5 yards on the first rush. The more on Keaton Mitchell for half a rushing touchdown, and the more on the Browns kicker for 1.5 field goals made. Now, if you flex play it, one of these picks can miss, and you could still double your money. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. The link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Reminder, we will be live for the Cleveland-Baltimore game. Not today. That's going to be tomorrow, actually. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you join us. It's going to be an absolute blast. Play-by-play, in-depth analysis. Gage and I just having a ton of fun, and I hope you'll be there with us. Speaking of having a ton of fun, we have a ton of fun answering these questions. And the first one comes from our main man, ATL Ghostface. What do you think of DeAndre Hopkins' performance the whole season? Man, ATL, I think he's been even better than I thought he was possibly going to be. Like, I thought he would be utilized a little bit more than he has been. But for how he has been utilized, man, he has been great. He has been phenomenal. He's catching everything that comes his way. He has, making unbelievable plays. A couple of his touchdown catches have been ridiculous. I just think he should get the ball more. In fact, plain and simple, I think with Rashad Bateman most likely, and at the current recording of this video, he is most likely not going to be playing on Sunday against Cleveland. With him dealing with that injury, I think you should see more DeAndre Hopkins because I still think he's got stuff left in the tank. Mr. Ravens, what do you think about Jair Alexander retiring? Man, it's a bummer to see somebody who was so good a couple of years ago have fallen so far from where he was at the top of his game. I hope he gets better physically. I hope he gets better mentally. I don't know if he's done in this league. I would not want to give him another chance. But when it comes to you signing him in this offseason, I still think that was the right call. I think that was the right play. I think it was low risk, high reward. You didn't pay him a lot of money. You signed him to a very incentive-laden contract, which would have paid him more money. The more he played, the better he performed. And if that's the case, then great. You got a good cornerback out of it. But he wasn't playing. And when he wasn't playing well, so you didn't have to pay that much for him anyway. And you still got a draft pick for him from Howie Roseman, who everybody talks about as the best GM in football. Well, the player you traded for and gave up a 6th-rounder for isn't in the NFL anymore. So basically, you traded a 7th for a 6th, which is the real alien. Would you still say Harbaugh's message is lost, or is it on the comeback game? I would still say it's lost. I think the difference in performance over the last 4 weeks is not because of Harbaugh's message, more because of what they've done schematically on defense, with Kyle Hamilton having much more free reign. I genuinely believe that has been the biggest change for this team. And I don't think Harbaugh's message has changed too much than it was 5 weeks ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So, no. I think maybe a little bit more accountability has been taken on the team itself via the players, but I don't think this comeback that we've had is because of some rah-rah that John Harbaugh has drilled into these guys' heads. Elgato, if Lamar doesn't play on Sunday, do you think Snoop could carry this team to a win? So, at the current recording of this video, Lamar Jackson didn't practice on Wednesday. We don't know if he's going to go on Sunday, but if it is Snoop Huntley, I do think you can carry this team to the win because I believe in this defense to be able to let up like a touchdown against Cleveland. And I think you can look at Snoop Huntley and say, hey, can you get me 10 points today? And if you can, I still think you win this football game. Guys, this Browns offense is horrific, okay? So, yeah, I trust in Snoop. TT, will Marlon get surgery? Depends on what you mean by surgery. He got a pin put in his finger. So if you count that as surgery, then yeah, he got surgery. But if you're thinking like, reconstructive things like that, then no, he won't. But he did, I guess, technically go under the knife because he got a pin placed in his finger. Snow Prods coming up next. Do you think we're going to use Keaton more? Yes, I do. I actually talked about that on Friday's video. So if you haven't watched it, go check it out right now. It'll be at the end screen on today's video. I do think we're going to use Keaton Mitchell a little bit more. Look, I think it's been coaching malpractice how little that this team has actually used him. But John Harbaugh said this week earlier in a press conference that he thinks he's going to get a little bit more Keaton Mitchell on this team. So, yes, I do. Jay Relomes, small part of me wants to say EDC didn't do jack at the trade deadline because he wants to extend Lamar and company next year. I think that's a justification for it. But, like, if you would have traded for Kevin Zeitler, that wouldn't have cost you much. It would have cost you, like, around $1 million, maybe even less than that for the rest of this season. So, to say he was penny pinching to extend Lamar, I don't think I agree with that take. But I can see how it could be justified like that. Last question, James Green. Ravens should use Devontae Walker. Could not agree more, James. Could not agree more. And I think you'll see more Devontae Walker through these next couple of weeks, especially with Rashad Bateman dealing with what he's dealing with. I think he's going to be a star. Maybe not a star. I think he's going to be a hell of a player. How about that? But yes, I do think they should use Devontae Walker more. I totally agree. We're going to get on out of here, but make sure you guys subscribe at Joey Peterson on Twitter, at Joey Peterson on Instagram, and make sure you hit that big red sub button. Daily coverage right here on the Ravens Rundown.